story begins on a rainy night in Tokyo when a young college student named Aiko Tanaka returned from her part-time job at a convenience store. Her apartment was small, dimly lit, and filled with the quiet hum of the refrigerator. Aiko lived alone, her parents having passed away when she was a child, and loneliness often followed her like a shadow. But this night felt heavier, stranger, as if something unseen had entered her apartment with her. When she switched on the television to drown the silence, the screen glitched for a moment. A static noise erupted, followed by distorted images of an old videotape playing on its own. A girl, with long black hair covering her face, appeared briefly, whispering words that sounded like a curse. Aiko panicked, fumbling with the remote, but the TV wouldn't switch off. Then suddenly, the screen went black, showing only her own reflection. Terrified, she pulled the plug from the wall. The screen went dark, but she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was still watching her. On her table, where moments ago there had been nothing, now lay a dusty black videotape with no label. Her heart sank. She had no VHS player, and yet the tape sat there, as if it had always belonged. The next morning, Aiko tried to ignore what had happened, convincing herself it was fatigue and hallucination. At her university, however, she overheard two classmates whispering about a rumor, a missing cursed videotape, that was resurfacing after years. Anyone who watched it would die within 7 days, their death captured on film by an unseen hand. Aiko's blood ran cold. She didn't tell anyone what she had seen. But when she returned home that evening, the tape had moved. It now sat on her bed, as if begging to be played. She tried throwing it away in the trash outside, but the next morning it was back on her desk. No matter where she put it, trash bins, rivers, even burning it, the tape returned unscathed, carrying with it an air of dread. Finally, desperation broke her fear. She borrowed an old VHS player from her university library under the pretense of doing research. Alone in her room, she inserted the tape. The screen flickered to life. The video was grainy, filled with static, but then images appeared, distorted figures crawling on all fours, an abandoned shrine in the forest, a well filled with water, and finally a close-up of a pale woman with hollow eyes. Her lips moved slowly as she whispered, "Find me, or I will find you." The screen went dark. Aiko sat frozen, her breath caught in her chest. Her phone suddenly rang, and when she answered, there was only static on the other end, followed by a chilling female voice. 7 days. The curse had begun. The next days were a descent into terror. Shadows shifted in her apartment, whispers filled the silence, and reflections in mirrors no longer matched her movements. She confided in her close friend Haruto, a film studies student with an interest in urban legends. Haruto at first laughed at her fear, but when Aiko showed him the tape, his face turned pale. He admitted he had heard rumors that the tape was tied to a real incident, a missing girl named Miyu Shirasawa, who had disappeared 20 years ago under mysterious circumstances. Miyu was believed to have been murdered by her stepfather, a man obsessed with recording her every move on videotape. The police never found her body, but her stepfather claimed she cursed the tape before vanishing. Soon after, everyone who handled those tapes died bizarre deaths. The police buried the evidence, but one tape had been lost, resurfacing now as the missing cursed videotape. Haruto and Aiko decided to investigate. Their search led them to an abandoned village outside Tokyo, where the Shirasawa family once lived. The house was decayed, the walls covered in strange scribbles and old photographs of Miyu. In the basement, they discovered broken televisions and piles of videotapes, most shattered, but one intact, identical to Aiko's cursed tape. Suddenly, the VHS players scattered across the room switched on by themselves. Dozens of screens lit up, showing Miyu's face whispering in unison, "Find me." The air grew icy, and Aiko saw Miyu's ghost crawling out of one of the screens, her wet hair dripping, her pale face twisted in anger. They barely escaped the house, running into the night with the echo of Miyu's scream following them. Day by day, the curse grew stronger. Aiko's health declined, her body weakening, dark bruises forming on her arms as if invisible hands were gripping her. At night, She would wake to find herself standing in front of her mirror, staring blankly at her own reflection while Miyu's shadow stood behind her. Haruto researched further, uncovering that the only way to break the curse was to uncover Miyu's remains and give her a proper burial. But no one knew where her body had been hidden. The videotape itself, he realized, contained clues, each scene pointing toward her final resting place. They rewatched the tape carefully. The shrine, the well, the forest, it was all part of Miyu's hometown. Following the trail, they ventured into the forest near the abandoned village. After hours of searching, they found the same old shrine from the tape. Beneath it was a stone well, covered with moss. Aiko leaned over, peering into the darkness below. A sudden hand shot out from the shadows, grabbing her wrist. She screamed, nearly falling in, but Haruto pulled her back. They realized the well was Miyu's prison. Her body had been thrown there by her stepfather. Left to rot in silence, her spirit bound to the cursed videotape. Before they could act, the ghost of Miyu emerged fully, her body contorted, crawling toward them. Her voice echoed in every direction. "Join me down here forever." Haruto, thinking quickly, pulled out a bundle of purification charms he had brought from a temple. He began chanting, but Miyu's rage only grew. The ground shook, and Aiko felt herself being dragged toward the well. She realized Miyu wasn't asking for revenge. She was begging to be freed. Summoning her courage, Aiko shouted into the darkness, "Miyu, we will free you. You don't have to suffer anymore."